Hey Jabbers, we are back with another mini episode, which kind of turns out to be longer sometimes. But this one is in honor of Valentine's Day. So we know typically people talk about red flags in a relationship, but we're going to be talking about some green flags that indicate what a great wedding vendor partner is or an ideal client. So we're going to kind of talk about what those green flags for Gabby and I are on like vendors that we love to work with or clients that we just absolutely adore. We're not going to be negative and talk about those red flags today. We're going to be positive and talk about all of those things that just like give us the butterflies, right? Of like working with our vendor partners and our clients.
Nothing like
So
getting butterflies when you see a wedding vendor.
I mean, don't you just love the feeling of showing up and you're like, I absolutely
Yes.
love this team of people for the day. And and you're like, this is actually gonna be like a fun day working with these vendors.
Actually, yes. Yeah, that is like, it's a sense of relief, I think. We're
Yeah.
like, oh my goodness, this is going to be a good one.
If it's not butterflies, it's a like, I don't have to stress because I know that photographer is gonna do their job type of
That's
thing.
true.
Yeah.
That's true.
So Gabby, what for you? I guess let's start with like an ideal client. What from like day one, what are some green flags that pop up for you and how like they're contacting you,
Mm.
discovery calls, initial, like they onboard with you type of stuff.
Great question. I think that exactly what you said, like the communication piece is really important. And I think you know off the bat from the inquiry call how that's going to go. And it's really hard to say no already at that early on. But if you do have a good one, a green flag for me would be someone that follows my communication process. Like they scheduled a call with my link, they show up on time for the inquiry call. We discuss a few things. They respect my time because sometimes I struggle with going over time. Like I dedicate 15 minutes to the discovery call, but sometimes I'll be asking questions. But I have had couples that are like, oh my gosh, I just looked at the time. I want to respect your time.
Mhm.
And I was like, thank you, because I'm not respecting my own time. So thank you so much. So that's a big green flag for me. And you just know that they're going to follow the communication process throughout the planning if they're that good at the beginning.
And I would also go back to say if they fill out my inquiry form correctly and like give a bunch of details, I'm like, okay, this person is like following through, right? Because I hate my biggest pet peeve is like when they just put like not applicable,
Yeah.
right? You're just like, okay, it actually is. So you can put information, but I love getting an inquiry where they have like so many details about their wedding day.
That's a good one. That's a really good point. Okay, what about you in terms of vendors? And maybe it could be communication stuff or what's something like early on in the planning before the actual wedding day that's a big green flag for you.
I think for me, it's timely email responses.
Yes.
And that goes into communication, right? Like you send somebody an email asking questions about timeline or logistics, vendor meals, COIs, whatever it is. And someone who responds within a couple days is like perfect. Like I definitely have those vendors who are very on top of emails and then others who take a couple weeks to respond. And like that's just really hard. And because that's more stressful on us, right? Of like having to remember, oh, yeah, that
Yes.
person has never responded. And so I just love when someone is like on top of their emails and communication with me.
Agreed. Or at the very least, like an out of office. If they
Yeah.
can't, we understand vacations and whatnot happen. But yeah, it goes back to communication. Like that's the beginning of it for both clients and vendors.
And I think too, working with vendors who are like very honest and open with you about
Mm.
pricing, their expectations, how their packages work, any like a la carte options that are add-ons. And even vendors who are like, I have some vendors who give discounts to clients because they're like, I love working with you. You send me business. And so when there's just like a good rapport and a good relationship going on, it makes it easy to work with them.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think having clear boundaries listed even from other vendors is really nice to be like, okay, I know exactly what their pricing is going to be or any upcharges so that I can clearly communicate that to my clients too.
That's true. Yeah, that's a good one. I think another thing too for on the client side is like when they trust our expertise. And if they're going to hire us for things like design or full service planning, I think like we naturally think they're going to trust our expertise. And it's both something where we have to show up confidently, which can be really challenging if the client is maybe a more of an intimidating personality. But also on their end, they have to trust that if they liked what we share online and on our website, that we're going to obviously guide them in a direction that reflects what we already do. So asking us for 10 florists is not a green flag.
Right.
So we love when they trust our recommendations. And of course, it's okay for them to want to tweak a few things in the proposal, but to know that we're not just going to pick a vendor out of a hat.
And I think I love those clients because sometimes it's like, okay, here's two different floral proposals. And they're like, okay, like they're like, both look great. Which one would you say? And I love those clients because they are just like, okay, let's just like go forward with the one that you think fits our vision best. And so those are so easy and it just makes the process easy because they trust you. And I'm like, okay, I know this vendor is perfect to bring their vision to life and they're great to work with. So having that trust does really make the process so much easier.
Yeah. And with that, it's nice when they provide us, like on the flip side, yes, we want them to trust us, but we also want their opinions. We don't want to go in where it's almost a disservice if they say, we love everything. Or the one I get a lot is, we love mountains and desert and ocean and backyards. And I'm like, whoa, 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 whoa. We can't design something for everything. You got to narrow it down. So I do like a decisive client, I think is what
Yeah.
I'm saying. Like that's a green flag for me. And that they don't sit on proposals for 2 months. Like they move quickly. And in that sense, it works really well for us because it gives us a deadline. Like if we say we're going to get you a proposal and a design board by March 1st, but we expect your answer by March 20th as to what you want to do. Like, if we can communicate really well with those deadlines
Mhm.
together, like, dang, that planning flow just goes and
The
it's
best.
a dream.
Yeah. And I think clients appreciate actual hard deadlines like that because
Yeah.
it's not just like, yeah, sometime this month. It's like, no, by the 20th, I need your decision. And I think they just work so much better that way.
Yeah.
Because often have to remind myself, like, my clients are at a full-time job during the day. Like, this is my full-time job. So they're not sitting there during the day being like, oh, I'm just looking at everything you're sending me. Like, oftentimes they're responding later at night after they get off work.
That's true. That's a good point.
I think another thing with vendors is everyone kind of staying in their lane and respecting everyone's role, but also with that, like working as a team, right? I think one of the main examples I always say is like, I create a main timeline, but then I'm reaching out to the photo and video team to be like, hey, does this work for you? Or I need your feedback on like how much time you need for X, Y, and Z so that I can adjust accordingly. And so I have found that a lot of photographers even like appreciate, they're like, your timelines are pretty spot on. And but then like sometimes there's like minor changes, right? Where they're like, I need a little more time for family photos. So let's like give a little more time here. And I think that's such a collaborative team effort of like, we're
Mhm.
both staying in our lane, but we're like working together to make this flow really well throughout the day. And I think when you can do that with your vendors, it just makes everything so much better.
Agreed. And also, I really love when vendors are like, they come prepared with a team. So, what I mean by that is, and we've talked about this in another episode of how we believe that like second shooters are non-negotiables because we don't want, and of course, as a team, we'll jump in and help a vendor that's in need, no problem. But we cannot be relied upon to hold your camera gear while you're shooting or be, organize the family photos. That's your second shooter. And so I really appreciate, even if a photographer or any vendor asks us, hey, I my package doesn't include a second shooter. What do you think? Because there are times, and we've talked about this, there are times where a small elopement in a single location might be fine to have a single shooter. But there's other times where I would say, oh, actually, I will work with you to get convince the couple to add on that second shooter because I really think it'd be valuable for you, for them, for us, you know?
Hmm.
So it goes back to communication, but that communication and like thinking of it as a team effort, not just a single job, is a green flag.
Because yeah, and I think that that's a great point. You even saying like, let's work as a team to convince our couple. I think a lot of it comes back to like, you're still educating your client throughout the process, right? Like yesterday, I was at a mock-up for a client with rentals and florals, and I pointed something so simple out about like the napkin fold and how do it for the menu so the menu doesn't go flying off the table if it's windy out. And the groom was like, that is such a great idea. Like simple stuff like that, where it's like, he's like, I never even thought about that. But it's like stuff that we know that kind of comes as like second nature. And so I think it's great to be able to like work as a team, but like reminding yourself you're educating your clients throughout the process and they appreciate that because they're like, oh yeah, duh. Like she's the expert. She knows all the little nuances throughout the day.
Sorry, dogs are barking in the back.
It's okay.
Sorry. 1 second. Oh my.
I can't hear them.
Okay. Sorry, Chris came home and I was like, it's going to be
Oh,
any minute now.
all good. I can't hear them.
Okay. Um, okay, I'll wrap up with gratitude.
Okay.
Okay, and then really like one of the last things that I think feels so good for everybody is as a green flag is when okay, obviously contracts are honored, payments are on time. That just goes for anyone, but thank yous and reviews. That's a huge green flag. Like even a quick text from the couple and even vendors, and I will say sometimes I almost feel more excited by a thank you from a vendor than I do from a client. That just is like, we had the best day. We couldn't have done it
Mm-hmm.
without you. That goes a long way. And like,
Mm-hmm.
as a planner, do you ever send a thank you email to the group, like a vendors after?
I I don't, but well, unless it's like sometimes vendors follow up with me and they're like, hey, like we would love any feedback, positive or negative, whatever. And most of the time it is like just praising them. And I'm like, had such a great day. Like your team did fantastic. I don't go out of my way to do it, although that would be nice. But I will say, like, when I do, if I get like the gallery back and then I'll forward that to the
Yeah.
team and I'll kind of like praise everyone in that of like, it's such a great day. Everyone did such a good job. Like, thank you for showing up and working as a team. But that would be nice to start doing.
I've just found it to be simple and I reply all to the email where I send out the timeline and everyone's
Hmm.
CC'd on it and I just reply all and I'm like, "Hey guys, the couple had a really amazing day. Here's the text that I got from them at the end of the night." And I think it's just an overall team morale boost because
Yeah.
it sometimes that loop never gets closed and we move on to the next event so quickly that I have received some replies from those vendors to be like, "Oh my gosh, this is so nice. Thank you. It's so great working with you." Blah, blah, blah. And I do sometimes add in a link to my Google review and I say, I loved working with all of you. If you want to send me your Google review link, I would love to write you something. And in
Yeah.
return, here's my link if anybody feels inclined. And I've actually received a handful of them and it helps a lot.
That's a great idea, which goes back to what Sarah said about like you don't have to just have reviews from clients. Like any vendor that you worked with is a boost for your for Google and SEO, which is great. And I do think even when like vendors leave at the end of the night, they'll usually say goodbye. And I do try to be like, it was so great working with you, kind of like giving compliments even at the end of the night. Obviously, if it wasn't, we're not really like talking about that. But I would say the majority of times I do try to like even praise them of like, you guys did such a great job. You worked so hard today. Like everything went smoothly. And I think that's nice, even leaving the wedding feeling on a high, right?
Oh yeah.
Um, but I do love those texts from clients. Like it
I
feels really
know.
good. I feel like when I don't get a text, I'm like, shit.
Same.
They are so disappointed. And sometimes it's a couple days later, which is totally fine, right? Like you're recovering from your wedding day, you have guests in town still. But like I said, I think we almost prefer a lot of times clients tip, right? Which is great and very appreciated. But like we prefer like send us a referral or like
Yes.
leave reviews because that's what helps sustain our business to have continuous clients.
Yeah. Agreed.
And Gabby, I'm curious, one last question. Do you follow up with your clients post event and ask for like beyond like a thank you referrals, do you ask for any feedback? Because I'm curious, I had a planner run a wedding for me when I was on maternity leave, and she was like, "Hey, I'm gonna jump on a call with a client. Would you like to join? And we're gonna have like a debrief." And I was like, "I never do this." And we did, it was like a 10-minute debrief, and they were super happy about everything. I think there was like one hiccup from a vendor. But I'm curious if you do that. And I was like, I mean, it makes sense to like make sure they're happy and you can
Sure.
right any wrongs. But I was like so nervous jumping on that call because I'm like, what happened that I did not witness?
Good question. I feel like I've only really gotten on calls if something happened.
Yeah.
And we had one a couple years ago that they were out of their minds. And they had this long laundry list of things that didn't go right, but like none of them were the planning team's fault. But
I
regardless,
think I remember this client.
yes, we did talk about this for a while. And then I've had fun couples that want to know the drama behind the scenes. So
Mm,
they want to get on a call, or I went out for drinks with them because they were like, tell us everything that we didn't see. And they like lived for that. But you're right, I don't. And I think I'm nervous. Like, I think it's scary, even though it went well. I don't know. I'm like
yeah.
really nervous to ask.
Yeah. Because sometimes it's not, I feel like I have had clients follow up on like, it wasn't even about me. It was about one of the vendors that was
Right.
hired, but it feels like it reflects back on me because I suggested them or recommended them. So, but it's all good learning lessons. And
Yeah.
I think the majority of time it's still a green flag because I think those clients are like, I just want to give them feedback because we still loved them, but I
Hmm.
want them to know for the next time around.
Hmm.
So
Yeah.
I think it's a good way to foster that relationship and like also just be like, again, keeping us in mind for referrals as any friends, family get married. Because I've had even a couple years in between where it's like so and so you did their wedding like back in 2021 and they referred you, and so I think it's great to like stay top of mind for those
Yeah.
clients as
That's
well.
true. That's a really good point. Yeah. Oh, this was fun. I hope a lot of other people have some green flags that they can share with us about whether it's couples or wedding vendors, and that we go into the rest of the year with green flags in mind and not red flags.
And we get butterflies upon arrival.
I love that.
Perfect. Well, thank you, Jabbers, for joining us on this Valentine's Day episode. And just a reminder, you can join us over on Substack, where we post weekly blog posts just about thoughts, things happening in the industry, or you can also be a paid monthly subscriber and we drop a bonus episode every month. That is only for our Substack members. But otherwise, thank you for being here and we'll see you next week.
Bye.
Bye.